Today, I want to take a closer look at your favorite semiconductor company, Intel. More specifically, I want to take a closer look at their manufacturing push, some recent updates that we've had, and also take a closer look at some of the competitions which might be seeing some delays that bode well for Intel.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So, on today's episode, what I really want to do is first, let's start off with their most recent earnings, right, which happened on October 27. And we're really going to be poking at the highlights from their manufacturing endeavors. One of the biggest points is they mentioned that they expect to achieve manufacturing readiness for Intel 18A in the second half, completing their incredible 5-node in 4 years journey. And right now, you guys should be seeing kind of a chart of that 5 nodes and within those 4 years. And they do believe this is going to be ahead or on schedule. So we do see that this company is kind of making sure that, hey, look, 18A is going to do great. And they do believe that 18A is going to reestablish transistor leadership, and they are racing to increase the lead. So when we talk about here of 18A reestablishing transistor leadership, they are discussing and kind of saying that, hey, look, right now we are definitely losing in the manufacturing move and kind of in the chip manufacturing to TSMC. When we kind of get to 18A, we do believe that our chips are going to be better than TSMC's. And this is what has a lot of investors excited. And one of the main reasons that this company believes they are going to reestablish leadership in transistors is because they are making a lot of investments in the tools needed to make the world's greatest chips. If we take a closer look, we did see that on December 21st, AML ships the first groundbreaking new high-NA lithography tool needed for next generation nodes to Intel, right? So Intel is the first to have them. The other news that we saw is that kind of have reports that in 2024, ASML will only be able to make 10 machines based on how crazy this product is to make. And Intel already acquired 6 out of the 10. So obviously some investors or some people watching this might be like, hey, Jose, that might not be necessarily the biggest bullish case because these machines are insane, right? $400 million a pop. So this company just really much wasted $2 billion on just machine equipment. So obviously some people might be wondering, hey, is Intel investing too much too quickly? And I want to say right now we are seeing this transition in chip manufacturing, right? Especially as we go from below the 2 nanometer, we're really going to be focusing in that gate all around kind of chip manufacturing, which is kind of different from the current manufacturing. So Intel, I personally believe that this shift in manufacturing is the perfect time of kind of pushing it to the metal where a company, if they want to take the lead, if they want to become a player in this space, it would have to be there during that transition because it kind of, to some extent, puts everyone in equal ground as everybody tries to learn this new kind of manufacturing technique and kind of manufacturing innovation that's happening in the semiconductor space. Some other thing investors should know is that a major customer committed to Intel 18A and Intel 3, which includes meaningful prepayments that expedites and expands their capacity corridor for this customer. Outside of that, they are also pleased to announce that they had signed 2 additional 18A customers during that earnings call. And both those customers are highly focused in high performance compute and benefit from power performance per unit silicon area. I want to say there's only a few players out there that really are in the high performance computing market. So it is pretty interesting to see, and I can't wait to hear who some of these customers are. So those were topics that were discussed during their earnings, which were about 2 months ago. And even though that's pretty much short time, maybe some investors might be wondering, hey, Jose, is there anything new that investors should know about? And I do believe there is. On December 23, we did see a lot of articles come out that Intel CEO positions 18A node ahead of TSMC's 2 nanometer node in performance and launch timeframe. We can see from this quote here that Intel CEO does believe that in forms of transistor, everybody's looking at TSMC's N2, which is their 2 nanometer, versus Intel's 18A. And right now, they do mention in forms of transistors, there's not one that's dramatically better than another. So when we take a closer look at transistors, based on Intel CEO, they are both very similar. Now, where they say that Intel has a little bit of a head start or some form of perks for or pros for is their backside power delivery. Everybody says that Intel scores there, that they are years ahead of the competition. And obviously that's very powerful as as he mentions that it gives better area efficiency for silicon, which means lower cost. It gets better power delivery, which means higher performance. So they do mention that, hey, look, they have a good transistor, one as good as TSMC for their 18A, but they have better power delivery. And he does mention that he thinks he is a little bit ahead of N2's TSMC's process technology in time. Now, another thing that's happening here in the manufacturing where Intel is leading against the competition is here in the expansion of the United States. So Intel is expanding into numerous plants, and one of their manufacturing plants that's going to be used for super advanced chips is going to be their Arizona facility. And they do mention that their Arizona facility is on track. This is something that can't be said for TSMC and Samsung. We have reports that, and we've heard about them during the earnings call, that TSMC has been very much delayed in their manufacturing plant in Arizona, in the United States fab that they're building here. And even Samsung is also running behind. There are a few reasons for both of them being behind. TSMC, we have heard that they're having issues with talent, getting the right talent to kind of build to build these fabs and to kind of create the kind of and install the equipment that is needed, as it's not an easy feature to do. Samsung mentions one of the reasons that they are behind is because the United States government is taking forever to kind of focus to give a lot of those subsidies back into the companies investing here. And Intel, like we saw, Intel is one that has plenty of plants here in the United States. So I do believe they do have that talent, and that's why we're seeing them on track for that Arizona facility. I think also at the end of the day, Intel does have the drive to really gain market share here in the manufacturing space. So even if they're seeing kind of delays in the subsidies or not getting them fast enough, this is a company that needs to continue to build and build at a faster rate. So obviously, if they are able to build their facilities a lot faster, then they're able to kind of get to the United States customers a lot quicker than some of the other players, right? So I mean, it's interesting, right? Because Apple is really focusing on building some chips here in the United States, and they already have it building. They already have kind of customers in TSMC. But who knows if Apple sees that Intel is going a lot faster, if their 18A is going a lot faster, what is it not to say that Apple might go to Intel for manufacturing here in the United States as they wait for TSMC? So that's obviously a big, big opportunity for Intel Giant. We have also heard that unfortunately TSMC's leadership, we did see kind of their chairman step down after numerous years in TSMC, as numerous years as chairman. And many are speculating that the reason is because the whole Arizona fab has been kind of a crazy, crazy mess for TSMC, right? It's becoming more expensive, the overall delays, and it's not moving as smooth as kind of the maybe investors were hoping. And I and this is another thing that I do believe TSMC has something to lose while Intel has something to gain. TSMC already has great margins here in the manufacturing. So investing internationally is obviously going to some extent hurt their margins. While Intel, they're pretty much their margins are already pretty weak due to numerous semiconductor reasons. But they are able to continue to invest here, and they don't really have to worry about this because investors already know that them investing in the manufacturing is going to cost them investors are already expecting this, right? They're expecting you to lose out on margins. They're expecting you to maybe not be as great as the competition. Now, some other things I want to kind of talk about is Intel continues to invest internationally, right? We did hear on December 27th, so a few days ago, that Intel is to invest roughly $25 billion in Israel after receiving grants from the Israeli government. And this is something that's not new. If you've been following this channel, we have heard that Intel was focusing on investing in Israel based on grants. And this is not the first international, right? They do have already a fabrication plant in in Israel. We actually heard about it during some of their most recent quarter earnings, with everything unfortunately happening in that side of the world. But Intel's also building plants all over the world, from Europe, as we know. So the list goes on as Intel continues to expand its national pressure. So it's obviously the nice turnaround story for Intel, and this is one of the biggest risks that I believe many investors were worried about a year ago. And that's why a year ago, the stock was sitting at roughly $26, right? Half the price of where it's at right now, because no one knew how they were going to move with their manufacturing. How were they going to move with their kind of progression in server CPUs and all that? And if you kind of took the bet there, you're obviously doing pretty well right now. But now a lot of that risk is outside of the table. We are seeing that they are progressing really good with their server CPUs. They're progressing really good with Gaudi 3 and Falcon Shores, which are the GPU accelerators. And they're also progressing really well with the manufacturing, and there is now a bigger confidence boost that, hey, look, they might be real competition in 18A to TSMC. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was really nice deep dive, in my opinion, on Intel and their manufacturing pushes, especially in the past 3 months. So if you do enjoy the episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Take care, have a good time, and see you next time.